Hey everybody, Brooks Van Norman here, host of the Pipeline Formula podcast. Today, I'm super excited to be joined by Bethany Stachenfeld, CEO and founder of SendSpark. Bethany, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. It's so great to be here.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. We are going to be talking today about sales enablement. We're going to be talking about pipeline growth. We're going to be talking about using AI to book calls, create trust, and drive revenue. So top of the call, real quick, can you just briefly explain what SendSpark does?
Yes. SendSpark is a video platform that you can use to take one video of yourself and personalize it at scale for everyone you send out to. So you can think of it like using Loom or Vidyard, but in an infinitely scalable way for sales and marketing.
Cool. Let's talk about the use of AI because AI is super hot right now for driving results. There's a big narrative going on about like SDR roles are in trouble because, they're just not as efficient and the whole predictable Aaron Ross predictable revenue model is really under fire. Can you speak to that and what you're seeing and how your technology is helping with that movement?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't know everything or have a crystal ball. But definitely where I see things going is that marketing and like sales automation is going to take a larger and larger approach when it comes to sending out email, sending out messaging and like orchestrating an outbound journey. And that's going to tie very closely into marketing. And then meanwhile, like SDRs and salespeople are going to be even stronger at adding like truly human aspects where it matters. And I think right now there's a lot of overlap and you have people doing things that maybe could be automated. And I think that we're just going to see a greater distinction where SDRs are going to be doing a lot more like true personalization and more of the top of funnel is going to be automated.
Yeah. There's a really important narrative happening right now that you've got, like you say, marketing and you've got sales, and we have this emerging function called revenue operations or rev ops. What are your thoughts on how that is going to transform go to market?
Yeah, I think there's like two things that at least I have my head really deep in right now. One is like the overarching like top of funnel buyer journey. Like how do webinars and events and different types of marketing activity translate into, okay, we're actually going to send that prospecting message right now to try to book a call. And I think that's one thing that's going to get amplified a lot with technology. Another thing that is even messier, but very similar is, okay, what happens after someone buys and like what's their journey from there? And especially for companies like SendSpark, where we have a product-led go-to-market motion, people can sign up for individual plans, kind of figuring out what's happening next and how their activity in the product can translate to sales opportunity. I think that's something that's really, really cool and starting to just like I think it's harder to do, to be honest, because it's less one size fits all. Like it's very unique to every company, but I think that there's going to be more efforts going to there and we'll be able to uncover a lot that maybe wouldn't have been possible without the AI and just data analytics tech that we have now.
Got it. That leads me to the next question, which is if you follow people like Santosh Sharan and Adam Robinson, there's such a huge founder-led marketing motion that's underway right now. And, it does make a lot of sense, but there's always going to be a need to push the message out there, right? So it's like this kind of battle between push and pull. So one of the things we'll get into is you start sharing some use cases and examples on this podcast is like, when are good times to do specific things? But just high level, before we get into that, what's your personal belief based on what you're seeing with users of the platform of like how best to approach business development today? And I know that's a really broad question because it's very like, well, it depends, right? But curious to know, like, just in terms of results, let's use that as the lens. In terms of results, what are you seeing as the better approach? Founder-led marketing that we then capture things to push through like our B2B to Clay to then SendSpark, or like scrape a list, you send out and personalize that way? What's going on in your mind?
Yes. So I'm definitely big on the train of signal-led outbound, or like, you're doing stuff, you're doing marketing, or you have founder-led content, or you're just doing stuff, and then you're finding signals either from your content or even general like industry signals, and then that's when you're reaching out. I think you get some people pushing back saying, not everything's a signal. Just because I went to your website,
Right.
it's a signal. And it's like, you can say that, but the fact is it's still a signal. But
Yeah.
just because it's a signal doesn't necessarily mean that you outreach right then. And that's actually why I think it's more important that marketing or like one function owns all of the outbound. Because if you're just reaching out at every single signal, you're going to hit the same people like multiple times in a day. So you have to kind of figure out what your buyer journey should look like and what are the signals that should trigger outreach. But definitely doing that is going to be better than just finding a blanket list and emailing everyone. And you might say like, well, why can't I do both? And my argument to that is sometimes when you email everyone with really good messaging, they take the call and they just waste your time because they're too early in the funnel. They're not ready to buy. And like,
Right.
that's actually maybe not what you want. So I really am a strong proponent of signal-led sales for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Okay. Let's come back to that SDR efficiency question for a minute, because I know this is on the top of mind with a lot of my clients, for example, who are trying to find ways to do efficient GTM, and they don't want to have like the old model of 5 SDRs. So, what is your opinion on how SDR functions should work? You already talked about like lowering the funnel and all that stuff, but historically, they were list building. They were just doing a lot of what we would call ditch digging in terms of outbound work, basically, right? How do you think when you say marketing should own all of this, are you saying that's more of the RevOps function and then SDRs are just like bottom of funnel? Like, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are.
I also want to say this is like a strong opinion, loosely held thing where I'm not 100% sure, but I do think that when it comes to like my take is anything that you could make an SOP for could probably be automated. So if you're at the point where like you've just made a really nice funnel and you have like SOPs and your SDRs are just following that standardly, like it could probably be automated and maybe you could use their human time more valuably. But I think, list building can almost certainly be automated and should be, maybe with like a little manual revision at the end. Data cleanup, which is same category, just trying to like analyze who to reach out to when, I think is maybe not automated, but maybe you have a data scientist doing that. Like, I just think that like you shouldn't, a lot of the grunt work I think could be automated, if not now, very soon. And maybe what we need is like people who are okay doing grunt work, but also capable of doing automation.
Yeah.
Um, and not like people thinking that anything is above or below them. Because maybe what you really want to do is spend, you're a data scientist, but you're totally willing to just spend a freaking month list building and prospecting till you feel like you really understand what works, and then you can automate it.
You're developing a really interesting vision here of what is kind of like a super SDR, right? You're using terms like data scientist, data cleanup, sales. Do you think the future of that role is all these like complementary but really diverse skills?
I've talked to some friends at Clay a bit about the concept of the go-to-market engineer. And I
Yep.
think that's a concept that resonates with me a lot because things are also interconnected. And if you're able to be the person that, and this doesn't work for every company, right? But if it does work for you and you're able to be the person that does the outreach, maybe even holds a couple calls and hops on the customer success calls to see things that really like matter, and it comes so full circle, I think that's super powerful. And I think in a way you don't even have to do it all yourself if you're able to, watch call recordings or at least read the AI summaries of call recordings so you get a better concept of what's working and what's not working. But I think the reason why we're feeling like predictable revenue isn't working anymore is because it was so segmented. It was like this section owns this owns that, and that owns that.
Right.
But the reality is if you can actually put those all under one roof, you get so much knowledge
Yeah.
share and insight to just make everything better that it can be a superpower.
Was revenue ever predictable?
I don't know, man.
I
Not from my
mean,
head.
it is kind of a funny concept when you think about it. I want to just talk about one more global concept for a second, which I think is central to this whole marketing and sales thing, which is the concept of offers. So like, in marketing, we always say everything comes back to a great offer, and then everything else is like trying to push a spaghetti noodle upstairs. You have a great offer. SendSpark has a great offer. If I was to articulate it on the spot, it would be something like, and I'm just playing jazz here, totally put myself into a corner, but it would be, I can tell you're totally fascinated with what's he going to say. But like when I think about it for our business and our clients, it's basically like we're enabling you to create personalization at scale through a medium that kind of breaks down barriers that you can't break down if you're doing an ad or cold email.
Mhm.
And like that just has all kinds of outputs. What do you believe is true in marketing today with all this tech that we have, Clay and lists and like personalizations and triggers? How much of the offer still matters in your opinion versus like now we can brute force it because we got all this like firepower now?
Great question. I think that it matters even more in a way because you're able to do things at scale. And if your core offer is very good and you can do that at scale, and I don't even just mean offer it like in terms of selling it, but like offer it, support it, give customers their value. If you can now do that at scale with a click of a button with Clay, like that's hugely powerful. But if
Yep.
there's any flaw in it, and then you put that at scale, that's going to now be a big flaw because maybe you have so many customers sign up and you can't support them or something, or you have so
Right.
many calls with the wrong buyer and they're like taking up your time, or just no one responds at all, which is the most common.
Right.
So I think that the core offer becomes more important. But then that being said, it's not like permanent. I think you can also learn a lot faster now because you can do so much at scale. So if your offer's bad, like you'll find that out right away. And then you can keep like iterating and adjusting it. But I think as long as you're open to changing it, it's much better. But if you're, yeah, I think it becomes a little bit harder to brute force, in my opinion. And I'm curious if you agree with me on that, because it's an interesting question that I just thought about now. Like,
We run a ton of outbound for clients. Like it's our primary mechanism. Probably 80%, 70% of what we do to generate pipe for clients is outbound and 30% is ads. And without exception, a client that has a more compelling offer is easier to build direct response campaigns around because it solves what I call a bleeding neck problem, right? Like, I'll give you an example. I've got a client in the credit card processing space, and their value prop is we basically will beat Stripe or PayPal by 30%, and we have live 24/7 support. Like, it's important, but it's not solving a bleeding neck problem,
okay.
right? So I think that the offer is really important and that everything flows from that. And it drives the entrepreneur crazy because everybody thinks their offer is great. But if it doesn't solve a bleeding neck problem, then you're left with brute force and volume. Like we have a saying in the agency where like when we have crap offers, we have to solve for that with volume.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's also interesting is you have the offer, and then similar but slightly different is the way that you pitch the offer to people.
Yep.
And I was made like this is so mean. The last night I was at like an event and I met someone in person who had been sending me automated LinkedIn messages. And I read the messages out loud to him and just brutally made fun of him in front of a group of people because they were so bad.
Ouch.
Yeah, they were like,
That's
let's
brutal.
you know,
Oh,
our businesses can have synergies, and then listed like 30 things they do. And I like it was like, okay, your business might be great, but like that's so much jargon, I can't even
right.
digest it. But maybe if he actually just instead of trying to tell me all 30 things the company does, was like, here's one way we can help. And then later, like another way we can help, and another way, like that one of those could have resonated really well. So I think like selling the offer could be like a very specific use case. You don't need to necessarily pitch your whole company and everything you do. You just need to actually like make one really compelling offer to start the conversation, and then can do more based on that. So I think that, yeah, offers become really important, but also an offer isn't necessarily your business. It's really like how you're communicating that in your.
Right, right. Okay, that was really good coaching. I want to come back to your coaching and strategy here in a few minutes because I know we got some stuff planned to share with our viewers. There's something else you touched on there that I think is really critical, which like Chris Walker talks about this a lot, which is like how you market is like a competitive advantage. And
Mm.
so how much do you think the new AI enablement and SendSpark, for example, is a competitive advantage that we have a short window on? Like if I use it and you don't, I'm going to get more pipe and calls because people are like, oh, that's cool. Bethany's, I sent Bethany a video and it was a good video, right? Versus just novelty. Like it's like, okay, this is differentiating me because it's like a cool thing versus like there's basically a short window. Sorry, it wasn't novelty. That was the same thing what I meant. So it's
Yeah.
novelty versus we only have like 6 months before everybody's using it, and then we need another thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, that's perfect because that's what I was going to say in response to your question is I don't necessarily think that there's a short window if you're doing things right because it should just be a better way to sell.
Okay.
Um, I mean, that being said, if you're like racing competitors for market share, like of course you need to move fast and that's where you have a short window. But I do think things like being able to like send automated videos to people throughout the customer journey is, if you're doing it right, is not novelty. It's you're giving people the right information in the medium that people really like engaging with information, like at the right time. So I think what people should try to do is not just try to like do all the stuff at once because their moment might be gone, but to really think about what's the best way to communicate their product to their potential customers, like what mediums, who should be sending it, who should be, what the rest of your buyer journey looks like in relation to it, and not just trying to get a quick win. Because otherwise, like you're always just going to be turning over the tech you use. And I think that could be stressful.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, great high level discussion. Let's get a little bit more mid funnel or tactical here. Can you share some use cases that are great examples of where video in the funnel or the buyer journey, let's think about it from the buyer's experience, not marketers, right? Are great applications of SendSpark.
Great. And that is different. That's a different answer thinking about it in terms of the buyer journey than the seller's journey.
Yeah.
I think that the really, really the most powerful use cases for video in terms of what the buyer actually wants to receive is when they are already kind of looking and they want, okay, so they're kind of looking and open to learning more, but they're not necessarily already like deep in the evaluation. So it's like they maybe have like a spark, hey, this could be a good idea, this is something I want to try, this is something I'm interested in learning more. And then that way when you send the video and you're sending them a nice digestible 1 to 2 minute video and not just asking them for a 15-minute call for you to ask them questions or a 30-minute demo, you're just giving them the helpful bites of information they want to help them
Mm,
get further along the funnel. And that could be in two spots. For most companies, that's going to be like when you see some signals in the market or like engagement on LinkedIn, like some signal that shows they're looking or they're on G2 or something like that. Another, if you have a product-led funnel, could be maybe that they're part of your free trial or your free product. And so you're kind of like giving them what they want as they want it. That's when I think it's like objectively helpful. Certainly not a gimmick because you're just giving them the right information at the right time.
super interesting that you talk about that because a minute ago you were talking about signals and not everything's a signal. So, well, let's use a real world example. I have a client that's got like a 6 Sense and a G2 list. They've got all these like intent signals, right? And you know how it is. It's like they viewed the category, they viewed a competitor, they viewed our profile. Would you then say, hey, well, let me ask you, what would you say in a video to somebody who viewed a category or a competitor on G2?
Yes. So I might say, and actually I have a video very similar going out, so I'll tell you what I actually say, which is, hey, when people are checking out SendSpark, they usually ask how we're different from competitors. Here's a quick video to show you I think I have something really corny, like how we build superpowers for sales or something. I'm like,
Yeah.
and that could change. But it's just that like, here's how we're different. Like, gonna leave it at that. And what I mean by not everything's a signal is like, well, you wouldn't want to accidentally like send the exact same video when they view the category and then your page and then your website because you like aren't thinking that people are going to do all those at once and then you've accidentally sent them 3 identical
Right. Right. So,
triggers.
so that's super fascinating because, with great power comes responsibility, right? So like you have to think through where the buyer is in their journey. You can't just send them the same stuff for the same signal.
Yes. And what I saw someone else post that I really like is how like previously like 12 step sequences were the way to go. And everyone's like, if you're sending less than 12 emails, you don't care, something like that. And then now what people are saying is, is we're doing more signals, maybe sending out more messages around the customer journey, have shorter sequences. Like, maybe they're on G2. And so you send like maybe like 2 to 3 emails. But you don't want to necessarily start a 12-step sequence and then start it again, because just because they're exploring information doesn't mean they're better, but or ready to buy, but it certainly is a signal.
This brings up a really important question. So we work with a lot of startups, and one of the challenges that startups have, of course, is just getting their name out. So this is just a philosophical question for you. Because buyers just don't like being bombarded generally, especially with outbound, what is your belief around the best way for a brand to be promoting itself today that we could then use tools like SendSpark to then do like the mid-funnel signal-based follow-up?
This is going to be different for every industry, but what I would say you can do to figure out where it is, like what you should be doing, is call people in your ICP and ask where they typically find information.
Mm,
And if you're able to, like, try, like if you're able to work in their office, like literally just like kind of, this sounds so creepy, but like look at them and see what they do. Like, for
yeah.
example, I know I work out of a WeWork, and there's some people that are in sales around me. And if I walk by the glass walls, I can see they're on LinkedIn all day, like literally multiple monitors, and one is always LinkedIn. So that tells me like this is where people are looking for information. Like that's where we want to be, sharing what we're doing, building in public, like sharing good content, because we see people there. But that's probably specific to like sales and recruiting. So if you sell to a different industry, like see if you can just see, well, what are they doing? Like, are they checking their email all day? Like maybe email is a great spot. Or are they on Facebook or Instagram? I know a lot of e-commerce companies are on Instagram. So I think you want to just kind of figure out where your industry is and then put out organic content, and then do email and like reach out to people as they engage with that content.
Amazing. I already have like 5 questions I want to ask you around that. Okay, so this is good, getting more tactical. So let's talk about LinkedIn for a second. So first of all, Adam Robinson might actually be onto something here with founder-led marketing. Who knew? Before I get into the actual strategies of how we can use SendSpark with LinkedIn, how much do you run into camera shyness with people who want to use the product, but they're just like, I feel like I sound weird, or like I don't like how I look or something. Like, walk us through that reality.
Oh, all the time. People are very camera shy. I don't have a good answer. We like added beauty filters and SenSpark. We're like, hey, at least we can touch up your appearance. Um, I mean, that's why some companies have avatar videos, but I just feel like they look weird. So, at some point, maybe we'll add that. But the cool thing is, since other people are camera shy, if you can get yourself to do it and just get yourself over the hurdle, video is still a huge advantage, probably for that reason, because most people don't do it because they don't like being on camera.
Yeah, yeah. Love it. Okay, let's talk about something really practical and useful. So I think it's so great that you shared that when you walk by people in WeWork that they're on LinkedIn. Like, it is definitely the business development platform of the future. And there's so many things we can talk about here. So let's be efficient. What do you think is a great use case for SendSpark with LinkedIn for somebody who's trying to build pipeline?
Yeah, so one is going to be just recording like videos of little things that like your service, your product does, and sharing them as content. I try to post like a tutorial like I'm not that great, but I try to post like a tutorial, just like a specific use case you do with SendSpark more or less every week. And like those do really well. And the cool thing about it is, and I'm just like recording myself over my screen, and people will see it and they'll think it's cool and sign up. And then the best thing is they actually tag their friends who they know have the same
Mm,
problem. So it's like you can post out a video, everyone in your network's going to see it, and then they'll actually tag in the relevant buyers for you, and then you can just reach out to those. And again, it's helpful. Like you're like, hey, I saw you were tagged. This is something you're trying to do. Can I help? So it's a great way to just like put out a wide net. And then another thing is, of course, reaching out to people directly in messages. But again, you want to do that sparingly. Like posting, you can do every day. Reaching out to people personally, you probably have a couple times before you're going to get like a long thread of you just like, hey, hey, hey. So if you feel like it's the right time to reach out, then definitely sending a video message and a connection request, or as like a follow-up, we get really good engagement on our videos.
that first bit of advice was really good. I just want to like boil that down again. So you're saying that for content that attracts the ICP, you should be focused on producing little nuggets of content that speak to a use case or a problem they're struggling with, and showcasing your solution in action in just tight little vignettes, right?
Yeah. And then again, you're not trying to do everything. But it's like, what's one offer, what's one use case that you can highlight and just be like, hey, did you know, like one of our customers, Dream Data, will post lots of different ways to be like, hey, like, did you know that you can do signal-led sales, like based on this? And just
Yep.
posting like specific use cases, I think is really powerful and just attracts the right people.
Okay, cool. I'm going to check out your profile again because I want to see how you do it. Like, what are you using, like Loom to just show over?
Yeah, let me show you. So SendSpark has a normal video recorder as well. So that's why I'm like,
Oh,
fake SendSpark, but you could totally use Loom. I'm not
okay.
saying this, and I can, so I can show you, this is just the last one I posted. So,
Okay.
it's not like biased, like definitely some get more engagement than this. This is like the top video ever, but I post something like, hey, does your AI product actually work? I just posted this after getting a call with Laura Skinner, and she was saying that AI
Mm.
founders she works with say it's really tough to stand out. And I'm like, yeah, that's because people are so like, people don't believe it's real a lot of the time. But if you
Nice.
if you send a video, you can show that what you're doing is real. So then I just posted like a little video showing how to do that. And this is just me recording on SendSpark, showing the platform. A meeting I had got pushed 30 minutes. So I made this video, made this post in less than 30 minutes. And then like,
Got it. Got it.
8,500 impressions, and like the right people are getting tagged in. So
Right.
yeah, just super simple, super easy. And like,
Love it.
why not do it?
Love it. Love it. Yeah. Way to go. Team Closers IO. Go Cole. All right. Great launch point for engagement and talking through how we can now start to blend more middle of funnel. So can you talk through how we could use SendSpark practically or tactically with people who are engaging in your content or maybe visiting your LinkedIn profile?
Yeah. So what I would recommend doing, and we do this a lot and get great results, is like, let's say I have this, like I might actually do this. So let's say I have this post and there's like 114 people that engage with it. That's a pretty good number of people, but more than I could, reach out individually to. And some posts will get a lot more, right? And sometimes other people will post about us and get like 1,000 like likes. And so these are all people that I think could be, in our realm. And so what we'll do is we're using Expandy as a LinkedIn automation tool, which LinkedIn automation has its pros and cons, but we've gotten a lot of use out of it. So
Yep.
we'll create an AI personalized video for every person using SendSpark, and then send them a little message using Expandy. And SendSpark and Expandy have a really nice integration. So you can do this all just out of Expandy. And
Mm-hmm.
if you look at these results, and I can show you some videos we've sent, like these are all post engagement. So like people that have engaged with posts, but the
Mm-hmm.
ones with videos have like a 20% reply rate, 30% reply rate without
Nice.
video, 7% with 27 without 4. So it's like, we're getting a lot more. And then finally we're like, all right, we're just going to send videos. We get really good engagement here. And the nice thing is, even when people aren't like taking out their wallets and buying right now, they're like, thank you. Oh, this video is great. This is so helpful, which is very different than if you're often sending text and people are like, stop spamming me.
Right.
So I
Right.
highly recommend this way to just start a connection on a good note.
So
And
what would you say in this video? Like, can you give us an example of how you, and if you don't want to share it, I'm totally cool with that, but my mind is just like, what does the video say?
yes, let me see. So here's an example of one. And so you can see it's like, hey, saw you liked this post about how
Got
he
it.
that's part which he posted, wanted to show you the product in action. And then I'll play this for you. I might not play the whole video, but just enough to get the idea for it.
Yep.
And you can see this is set up. This is all like AI generated using the SendSpark and Expandy integration. And on this page, they have a button to get started SendSpark and another thing to book a demo with our sales team. And
Yep.
I'll play the video. Hey, Lassa. Thanks for taking a look at SendSpark. Here is a quick video to show you some of the superpowers that we've built in for sales outreach and marketing automation. In SendSpark, you can make normal videos like this where I'm recording myself over my screen and showing these off to people. But the real magic comes from being able to create these personalized videos at scale, where instead of actually recording a video for every person you reach out to, you just record one and then you use AI to personalize it for everyone.
If you want to do that, you should head over to the dynamic video section of SendSpark.
And I won't play the whole video, but you can see we're like,
Sure.
hey, thing that sets us apart, here's how it works. This video is a little long. I just realized it's like 5 minutes. Make it a little shorter. But yeah, it gets really good engagement, good replies, and we definitely
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
sign up.
For a first touch, I would agree. That's a lot to ask someone to watch. Let's just bounce back to strategy for a second here. The thing that we always talk about is like how to help the buyer buy. And like buyers never have a linear journey. We all think they do. We have stupid first and last touch attribution mechanisms that we still use. But how do you think something like this should be integrated into an overall go-to-market plan?
I think it kind of depends on on how your funnel is set up and where the biggest hole in it is. Like if you're telling me that you have an amazing process from, as soon as you can get someone on a call, they're almost surely going to buy and they have great activation and long retention. And then the main thing that you're worried about is like top of funnel. And I'd say like, great, we'll use SendSpark to send out videos, send out emails, and like get more demos. I think that if you're saying like, actually, like, we're kind of in a hot space, people are really eager to like try out the product, but the main issue we have is like retention, then I think this can be really helpful to like send out videos to current customers and show them more use cases,
Mm,
help get more from the product and like engage more, or to book the first onboarding call with your CS team. Like I think that I always see SendSpark as like a little bumper that you can put along your funnel to kind of like push people back on track because you're
okay.
reaching out and you're engaging with them the way that they want to be engaged with.
Yeah.
And you're able to show value with the screen recordings and things like that too. So there's not like necessarily one magic spot. Like I think the biggest use case is sales outreach because everyone wants more demos. But
Right.
I think for some companies, especially like more startups that are building stuff as they go, or PLG companies, like they're also using it for scaled CS. And I think those use cases are really strong.
I like that analogy of bumpers and like using it as kind of like a catalyst or like an accelerant. Um, I'm not sure buyers watching this would like to think of themselves as pinballs in a machine, but the idea, I get what you're saying. Like it's an additive value experience that prospects can get. How many of your clients use it for pure sales outreach versus customer support? Like, right side of the bow tie.
I mean, probably most right now for sure. Like I'd say like 80%.
Okay.
Um, we also have like some smaller teams where you kind of have like everyone does everything, but the big use case right now is certainly sales. And then we're also, but then I think what people are starting to realize, I'm sure other people have realized, what I'm starting to realize is that like revenue is more than just sales. Like revenue is, the is expansion, like revenue is referrals, revenue is lack of churn, it's retention. So like I think of SendSpark is like a revenue driving product. And then it depends like where do you see the biggest avenues for revenue coming from? And I think now that the market's a little bit harder, people are saying it's hard to get new logos, it may be your best source of new revenue is going back to your current customers. So the biggest use case for sure is like sales. But that being said, we work with revenue orgs as a whole and they use us wherever it's needed.
How big is this market that you're in terms of like dollars, TAM?
I don't know.
No.
I forget what we put on the pitch deck, honestly. I mean, it's pretty big, all right? Like I
Yeah.
feel like every company has revenue.
Yeah.
The only ones where I think it doesn't really work with is if you're really there's some businesses where they're just purely like cold calls. And
Yeah.
so I feel like they're not in our space. But other than that, like you sell, you
Yeah.
can.
Let's talk about combining the old world with the new world. So if I am a prospect and I hear about your brand and I go to your website and I've got a website where we've got our B2B on the site and we can now de-anonymize my visit to the site. Can you talk about that process, your philosophy about that? Is it kind of creepy? How do you integrate with our B2B? Can you share an example? I think that's really top of mind.
Yes. So I think that if it's creepy or not depends on your customers. If you think your customers would think it's creepy, it's creepy. Don't be creepy. If you think your customers would think it's cool, then it's not creepy.
Mm.
It's cool and you're showing them a new way to sell. So for us, I'd say certainly not creepy because we work with sales and marketing automation people who think it's cool.
Yeah.
I've never had anyone tell me it was creepy, but I can imagine like, for example, my husband isn't a doctor and If you go to a hospital website and then you get an email like hey, saw you on the website in medicine, that's creepy. So you should know
Right.
your audience. I will leave you to figure that one out for yourself.
Okay.
But if you think it's not creepy, I'll show you this workflow that we have going. Um,
Sweet.
so this is using the RB webhook and Clay. And what we do is we send the RB2B webhook to Clay. So this is saying like people were on our website, and RBD is pretty good at identifying like the email, website URL, other information that you can then use to create a dynamic video that's going to look like this one I just showed you, where like I was on their LinkedIn profile and saying their name. And so what you can do here is use the Clay enrichment to add a SendSpark video, which
Mhm.
what we're doing here is we're just connecting into our SendSpark workspace and like
Mhm.
sending the first name to first name, email to email, just sending all this information into SendSpark.
Yep.
SendSpark's going to generate a video, and then when it's successfully generated, it will return to Clay like success. You can move forward. I'm pulling out the video link just as a way to know that the video was created successfully. And then you can add people right into an email campaign using Smart Lead or Instantly or whatever email system you use. Then what this looks like in Smart Lead is we have the dynamic placeholder right here. And so, I just put this in the sequence one time, but for every person that's enrolled in the sequence, they're going to get that video. I have it as the second step, but they're going to get it as that second email, and they're going to see it, with their LinkedIn profile, or I think sometimes we're using the website background here to like personalize, the website to help them, just to help the videos really stand out and, show it's personalized for them. I'll also say we do this in the second step, just because if it is like a cold email, this can be better for deliverability. So
For sure. Yeah. You shared your stats on Expandy for the reply rates. What improvements have you seen in email for a SendSpark step 2 in a sequence versus just a regular text or a link?
I wish I had that ready, but there was like a little bit of a tracking issue where Smart Lead was showing like 100% open. And I know that's not right. That's too high.
But what about
So
reply rates, not just opens?
I'm not sure, because we didn't do this campaign without it.
Okay.
But let me think about it. I mean, we get a decent number of replies from this. And then we also have a video in the third step. So, but this is just like a link. And so we have a case study video here too. So both of these
Right.
get a good number of clicks and replies.
Got it. All right. So just to recap, you gave some great advice on creating visibility and building awareness for your brand with use case based posts on LinkedIn, which I think is really smart because it's value forward and you're speaking to a problem the prospect already has. So it's a great way to build awareness for your brand. You shared an example of doing outreach based on people who've engaged with a post. So you're using Expandy's ability to scrape all of the people there. Just a personal question on philosophy. Would you just send it to everybody or would you filter through Clay to be more efficient?
Oh, I think it depends. I was filtering before, but like you can. So what we were doing before, we made a HubSpot list to like filter out current customers.
Yep.
And I would maybe recommend most people do that. We decided not to because like for us, we're also like, hey, worst case, we hit a current customer and they see a cool way to use the product.
Yeah.
Um, Also with the linked engagement, you might want to like, for example, if you grab a competitor's post, like half the comments could be their own company liking it. So like
Right.
sometimes I'll go through and like remove the people that work for the competitor before sending it in Expandy, but it's just also that there's a trade-off of time. So sometimes I'll just be like, whatever, and send it to everyone.
Got it. Yeah, exactly. And then the third use case was in an email where you've got it as a second piece. You've referred to this capability called dynamic videos. From my understanding, there's basically like a few different types of video formats you could use. One is just like you said, like a Loom recorder. The other is, hey, insert first name, and then you send that out. There's another type where you can like smash two videos
Yeah.
together. And to be honest, it took me a little while, and I'm pretty technical to figure out like how to bash those two together. And then in your help files, there was like the old way, and then there was like the new way. But I finally figured it out, and it's a really cool capability. But I think this is a great time for you to explain it because that to me is one of your most lethal features.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear you say that because I really like that feature too. And
Yep.
I think that, sometimes you just want the full AI personalization, but there's a lot of times when, yeah, you just want to add like a personalized note. Like, the big use case for me is like, we'll talk to, be on a demo or something and someone wants to see how we work in another platform. And so to just do like a nice intro to be like, hey, name, like, it was so great meeting. Like, here's a quick video to show you how we work in Smartly, Clay, etc. Yeah, so you can just record a quick intro and then hit a plus button that is easy to find if you know where it is, maybe hard to find if you don't know where it is, and then stitch two videos together.
Got it. And so the advantage there is you could really create a really good production in the stitched video together, but
Mhm.
make the first piece like super personalized. And as long as you're wearing the same shirt and the same background, no one would ever know they were like totally different videos, right?
Yeah, like you could definitely do that. You could also make it obvious it's two videos. So like one thing we started doing as well, because when we have some like really deep like technical integrations with like go high level, make some like harder to use automation platforms. And so
Yep.
I've made tutorials for how to use that, but we have other people on the team selling the product. And so you can even like combine someone else's video. So if you have like a technical like support engineer
Got it.
or sales engineer helping you out, you can even just be like, hey, I don't actually know how this works, but here's a video from another
Yeah.
person. So I think
Yeah.
that's a cool use case as well. And we give you both options when you stitch the videos. You can either make it look seamless, like wearing the same shirt, I want this to look the same,
Yep.
or you can add a little gap. So it'll show like video one, video two, and it makes it more obvious it's two videos. And I think both use cases are very valid.
Cool. Great. Well, we're running out of time. Is there anything else that we should have covered that you think people should know about this movement with AI and your offer and your capabilities?
Yeah, I would say it's the time to like try new things. I feel like the world is like changing a lot right now, and that means that there's like a little bit more like in my opinion, like more acceptability to make mistakes and like try new things even if something doesn't work right. So I'd say take advantage of that and like try as many things, try to learn as fast as possible. And just like, unless your industry, it'd be very inappropriate, just like have fun with it and get really creative and see if you can find something new that works.
Cool. Right now, you're using AI as a mechanism to read a keyword and then change that for someone's actual name based on the variable that gets inserted with a real data point, a real field. Can you share anything else that might be on your roadmap of how else you might be using AI in coming releases?
The big thing right now that we're working on is we have an AI script writer to help you come up with a good script. But it's very general. It's like one script for everything. And so what we're on right now is to help you like figure out what signals you're using and then what script based on that. And even the questions you ask me are showing how like useful it is. But it's like, okay, someone's on your pricing page, you want to send a video. Like, let's learn more about you, your pricing, your product to generate an AI script to know what to send. And I think that's going to spark some different ways for people to do creative outreach too.
Okay.
But yeah, just helping people like win the tools. I feel like the tools are there. Like a lot of tech is there right now, but there has to be a little bit more. We want to help people with a strategy to be able to use the tools effectively and get the results they're looking for.
Yeah, let's talk about that as kind of the wrap up point. So if somebody watching this wants to give SendSpark a try, what should they expect in terms of the experience of signing up for the product and then resources that they have available to kind of kick off their first campaign?
Yes. So you can sign up. We have a solo plan starting at $49 right now. So we try to make it like accessible for everyone. You don't need to sign a contract or get your whole company on board. And then we do personally onboard every person if you want to. You can just go wild, use our help articles and videos. Or if you want someone to walk you through how to create your first campaign. I think once someone walks you through it, it's very simple. But if you've never done it before, it can be helpful to have them walk through the first.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. And can you let us know exactly where people can find SendSpark and if they have any questions for you, how they can reach you?
For sure. For SendSpark, go to sendspark.com. It's like send a video, spark conversation, SendSpark. And then for me, I would probably reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name is Bethany Stachenfeld, and I'm the only one. So you can reach out and I respond to nearly every message I get.
Bethany Stachenfeld from SendSpark. Thank you.